The one other kind of circular sweep that we should probably mention is with three curves. This one is pretty self-explanatory, but I figured I'd show it to you anyway. I mean, it's very useful. So I'm going to go ahead and choose three guides under the subtype in the circle sweep menu, and it's going to ask for guide curve 1, guide curve 2 will make that, and guide curve 3 will make that. Preview. And there we have a circular sweep that goes through all three of those guides. Now in this case, this isn't a very sensible example, right? Why would I ever use that? Well, I'm going to show you. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to make some construction geometry first, but what I wanted to show you is a way that I do commonly use three section sweeps, and that would be if I had this curve and I wanted to make a convex surface all the way across them, and I wanted to make sure that that would never break, because if I do a circle section sweep and I do it with two guides and a radius, for instance, and I choose guide curve 1 and guide curve 2, we've already seen that if I make this value smaller, say, than the distance between the two curves, it says there's no solution. And really, I want this to always be convex, and I want to make sure that it never ever breaks on me and never gives me those kind of errors. So what I'm going to do instead, it takes a little bit of construction setting up, but it's not too bad. We're going to use one of our previous sweep types. We're going to use a linear sweep with two limits. We'll click there and there, preview, so we get a sweep, and I want to make sure that my spine is correct on the y-axis. Click OK. So now we have a line. Now I'm going to create a point on this curve, and I'm going to do it's going to ask me how I want to define the point. And right now I could choose a distance on the curve, right? I could choose that I want it to be that distance from that point. I could click down here under reference and I could change it, and I could say I want it to be, you know, a certain distance from that point. But really what I actually want is a ratio of the curve length. I want it to be at 0.5 or halfway down the curve. And I also need to go back and change that. Alright, so we have a point on that curve that's halfway down the length of the curve, and click OK. So we have a midpoint on that line, basically. And then I'm going to, under my spline tool down here, if I expand my little pull-out menu under curves, then I can choose the isoparametric curve. I could also right-click here and go down to curves. Where is it? I guess it's not there. I guess you have to get to that through there. Anyway, if you go to this toolbar, on the spline toolbar, you pull out this sub-menu, you'll see the isoparametric curve tool. You can click that. You can click on the support, which is this one, and you can click on a point, which is that one. And you need to choose the direction, which will be, in our case, that direction. How did it do that? Did it make a line? Oh, that's weird. Huh! What about that? Well, instead of the line, why don't we just choose the y-axis? That'll be easier. So it doesn't have to create that geometry. And then click OK. And so now I have this line that is dead in the middle between these two curves, which is exactly what I wanted. It's playing right into my evil plan. And now what I'm going to do is move that in a direction. So I'm going to choose, oops, what if I go ahead and show that linear sweep again? And actually what I'm going to do is make a line. I'm going to use my line tool. And I'm going to say angle normal to curve. This is stuff, you know, you'll see in future tutorials, but basically what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make a line. I'm going to tell it that I want it to be a certain angle from this curve, and I want it to be somewhere at this point, and choose an angle. Oh, it needs a support. Dadgummit. We'll make a support then. We'll make a support. We'll click on our plane tool. We'll make it parallel to our ZX plane, and we'll choose this point. And what that's going to do is it's going to make a point that's parallel to ZX at this point. We'll click OK. We'll then choose our line tool. We will choose that we want it to be made at an angle. We want to choose this curve, this point, and this plane as our support. And now it has drawn for us a little curve here that we can dynamically adjust. And really we just want it to be at 90 degrees. That's the whole point of why we're doing this. All I need is a direction to move this curve. I'll click hide, and then I'm going to use my translate tool to translate this curve in that direction a certain distance. And then, when I edit my circle sweep definition and I change it to 3 guides, then my guide curve 1 is this one, guide curve 2 is going to be my newly translated curve, and guide curve 3 is going to be that curve. Click preview, and now we have a circular section between these 3 things, and it will always be convex. It never needs a radius. It doesn't matter how far apart these curves are from one another, it'll always work. And we built it in such a way that it's very easy to modify that radius just by moving this curve out a little bit further. So, that is a handy little trick if you want a very adjustable circular swept surface. Why don't you play around with that, and I hope it gives you good ideas. Have fun.